Midnight Hollow. Subscribe for more horror stories. Watch and press the bell icon.
The office building was never completely silent, even after midnight. There was always a low hum, air vents breathing inside the walls, distant traffic leaking in through the glass, the faint buzz of fluorescent lights that never fully turned off. Emily noticed these sounds more than usual that night because she was the only one left. She sat at her desk on the 14th floor, staring at her computer screen, eyes burning from hours of overtime. The deadline had crept up faster than she expected. One by one, her coworkers had packed their bags, joking about dinner plans, warning her not to stay too late. She had smiled and waved, pretending it didn't bother her. Now the office was dark, except for a few emergency lights and the soft glow of her monitor. She checked the time, 11:47 p.m. Just 15 more minutes, she whispered to herself. She saved her file and leaned back in her chair, stretching her neck. That's when she heard it. Footsteps. They were faint, slow and distant, but unmistakable. Emily froze. The office floor was open plan. Long rows of desks disappeared into shadow. The footsteps sounded like they were coming from near the elevators, far across the floor. She listened carefully. Step, step, step. Her first thought was security. Sometimes guards did rounds late at night. That made sense. It had to be that. Still, something felt wrong. The footsteps stopped. Emily held her breath. "Hello?" she called, her voice thinner than she wanted. No answer. She laughed nervously and shook her head. "Get a grip," she muttered. "You're tired." She shut down her computer and stood up, grabbing her bag. As she walked toward the elevators, the motion sensors triggered lights in sections, turning on one by one, revealing empty desks, abandoned coffee cups, chairs slightly pulled back as if people had just vanished. Halfway across the floor, she heard the footsteps again. This time, closer, behind her. Her heart jumped. She spun around. Nothing. The lights behind her were on now, revealing only rows of empty desks and shadows stretching unnaturally long. "Security?" she called again, louder. Silence. She reached the elevator bank and pressed the down button. The red light blinked. The elevator was coming from below. While waiting, she glanced at the reflective metal doors and frowned. For just a second, she thought she saw movement behind her reflection, a shape where there shouldn't be one. She turned quickly. Still nothing. The elevator dinged softly and the doors slid open. She stepped inside, feeling a rush of relief, and pressed the button to the ground floor. The doors closed. The elevator began to descend. At first, everything felt normal. Then, it stopped. The lights flickered once, twice, and the elevator jolted slightly before coming to a complete halt between floors. "No, no, no, no," she whispered. She pressed the button again. Nothing. She tried the emergency button. It buzzed, but no voice answered. Her phone had no signal. The silence inside the elevator felt heavy, crushing. She could hear her own breathing, fast and shallow. Then she heard it. A soft knock from outside the elevator. 3 slow taps. Tap, tap, tap. Emily's blood ran cold. "Hello?" she said, barely louder than a breath. Another knock, this time closer to the doors, as if someone was leaning right against them. "Security?" she tried again. A pause. Then a voice spoke. "Emily." Her stomach dropped. She hadn't told anyone she was staying late, and that voice, it sounded wrong, too flat, too close. "Who is that?" she asked. Silence. The elevator lights dimmed slightly. Her reflection in the mirrored wall looked pale, distorted. "Emily," the voice repeated, slower now. "You forgot something." "I don't know you," she said, backing into the corner. The elevator doors shuddered as if something heavy pressed against them from the outside. "Let me in." "No," she whispered. The knocking turned into scratching, long dragging sounds like fingernails scraping metal. Emily covered her ears, squeezing her eyes shut. "Please stop," she cried. Suddenly, the scratching stopped. The elevator jerked and began moving again, downward. Emily collapsed against the wall, sobbing in relief. The doors finally opened at the ground floor. The lobby was empty, dimly lit, and silent. The security desk was unattended. She ran. The cold night air hit her like a slap as she burst out the front doors. She didn't stop running until she reached her car. She locked the doors immediately, hands shaking as she started the engine. Only when she pulled onto the road did her breathing begin to slow. "That's it. I'm never staying late again," she told herself. The next morning, Emily arrived at work early, trying to convince herself that what happened was just exhaustion, stress, imagination. But the office felt different, colder. Her coworker Mark noticed her pale face. "Rough night?" he asked. "You could say that," she replied. "Hey, was security do rounds last night?" Mark frowned. "Security? No. The night guard called in sick." Emily's heart skipped. "Then was anyone else here late?" she asked. Mark shook his head. "Just you." She forced a smile and sat at her desk, trying to focus. Around noon, an email popped into her inbox. No sender name, no subject line. Her fingers hesitated before she clicked it. The email contained only one sentence. "You still forgot something." Her screen flickered. For a split second, her reflection appeared on the darkened screen, but this time she wasn't alone. Someone was standing right behind her. She screamed and spun around. Nothing. The office buzzed with normal daytime noise. People typed, phones rang, laughter echoed faintly. Her email inbox refreshed. The message was gone. Emily sat frozen, heart pounding. That night, she didn't stay late. The next night, she didn't either, but the feeling followed her home. She began hearing footsteps in her apartment hallway when she was alone, soft knocking at her door that vanished when she checked. Her phone would light up with missed calls from unknown numbers, no messages left behind. Every reflective surface betrayed her, mirrors, windows, dark screens. Always, just for a second, a shape standing too close, watching. One evening, unable to take it anymore, Emily searched online. She looked up the building's history. What she found made her hands tremble. Years ago, a woman who worked late nights in the same office building had gone missing. Security footage showed her entering the elevator after midnight. She was never seen leaving. The case was unsolved. Emily stared at the photo attached to the article. The woman's face looked strangely familiar. Too familiar. That night, Emily stayed home sick. At 11:47 p.m., her phone buzzed. An email notification. No sender, no subject. The message read, "I'm still in the elevator. You said you'd come back." Emily dropped the phone. From her dark hallway, she heard slow footsteps.
The forest was never supposed to be quiet. That was the first thing Emily Carter noticed when her car died on the old service road. No birds, no insects, not even wind in the trees, just a thick, heavy silence pressing against her ears like the forest was holding its breath. Emily stepped out of the car with her phone in her hand. No signal, of course. She was deep inside a national forest in northern Oregon, miles away from the nearest town. She had taken this route because her GPS promised it was faster. It lied. Tall pines surrounded the road, their trunks rising like dark pillars into the fading evening sky. The sun was already sinking, bleeding orange light through the branches. Night was coming fast. She opened the trunk, hoping for something useful. A flashlight, half a bottle of water, no food, no spare battery, no help. That's when she heard it. A sound, not loud, not sudden, but wrong. Footsteps. Not leaves crunching, not branches snapping. Bare feet, softly stepping on dirt. Emily froze. "Hello?" she called out, her voice shaking despite herself. No answer. She turned slowly, scanning the trees. The forest looked the same in every direction, endless rows of trunks, shadows gathering between them. Her heartbeat started to pound in her ears. She told herself it was an animal, a deer, maybe a hiker. Then she saw the footprints. They were fresh, pressed into the soft earth beside the road. Human footprints. And they were coming out of the forest, not going in. Emily backed toward her car. "This isn't funny," she said, louder now. The silence swallowed her words. Her phone buzzed suddenly. She almost screamed. The screen lit up, not with a call, but with a notification. No service. Under it, a second line appeared. "Turn around." Emily stared at it, confused and terrified. She hadn't typed that. There was no app open. Her fingers trembled as she locked the phone. Behind her, a twig snapped. She spun around. Between the trees, about 30 feet away, someone was standing. A woman. At least, it looked like a woman. She was tall, unnaturally still, her body half hidden by shadow. Long, dark hair hung forward, covering her face completely. She wore something pale, maybe a dress, maybe just fabric, stained dark around the bottom as if it had been dragged through mud. "Are you okay?" Emily asked, every instinct screaming at her to run. The woman didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't sway. Emily took a step back. The woman took a step forward. No sound, no rustle, just motion. Emily ran. She grabbed the flashlight and sprinted into the forest, away from the road, branches whipping at her arms and face. Logic didn't matter anymore. Distance did. The flashlight beam bounced wildly as she ran. Trees blurred together. Roots reached for her feet. She nearly fell twice. Behind her, footsteps. Faster now, closer. Emily screamed and pushed harder, lungs burning. The forest seemed to close in, paths twisting where they shouldn't. The air grew colder with every step. She burst into a small clearing and skidded to a stop. In the center stood an old ranger cabin. Rotting wood slumped under moss and vines. The door hung crooked, barely attached to its hinges. Emily didn't hesitate. She ran inside and slammed the door shut, shoving a broken table against it. The cabin smelled of mold and decay. Moonlight leaked through cracks in the walls. Her hands shook as she turned off the flashlight, afraid the light would give her away. Silence. Then a soft knock. Once, twice, 3 times. Not on the door, on the wall. Slow, patient. Tap, tap, tap. Emily covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes. A voice whispered from outside. "Emily." Her blood turned to ice. "How do you know my name?" she cried. Silence. Then the whisper again, closer now. "You left us here." The cabin creaked. Something moved along the walls, shadows sliding where no light should reach. Fingers pressed against the wood from the outside, leaving dents like the walls were breathing inward. Her phone buzzed again. She looked. Message, no sender. "You're standing on their ground."
The floor beneath her feet groaned. Emily remembered then something she had read years ago, a news article, missing hikers, a wildfire decades back, a group of women trapped when the evacuation roads were blocked. Never found. The forest swallowed them. The knocking stopped. For one terrifying second, Emily felt relief. Then the door slowly opened. The table slid aside on its own. The woman stood there now, fully visible. Her face was wrong. Too smooth, no eyes, no mouth, just skin stretched tight like it had forgotten how to be human. Behind her, more figures stepped out from the trees, dozens, all watching. The last thing Emily heard was the whisper again, no longer outside, but inside her head. The forest keeps what it's given. Morning came quietly. A ranger found Emily's car on the road later that day. Doors open, phone inside. No footprints leading away. Just the forest, waiting.
The park was almost empty, the kind of evening when the city seemed to forget it existed. The streetlights flickered one by one, casting long, trembling shadows across the walking paths. Sarah had stayed late, finishing an assignment on her laptop at a nearby cafe. She didn't realize how late it had gotten until the moon was high and the streets were silent. She had always loved Willow Park, with its twisting trees and hidden benches, but tonight it felt different, too quiet, too still. She clutched her backpack tighter and started walking through the gravel path toward the exit. The rustling of leaves above her head made her jump once, twice, and each time she laughed at herself. "It's just the wind," she whispered. But the wind didn't feel natural tonight. It whispered, not like air moving, but like a voice, faint and chilling. A shadow moved across the path ahead. Sarah froze. Her heart jumped into her throat. "Hello?" she called, her voice trembling. No answer. She forced herself to take a step forward. Another shadow flickered to her left, between the gnarled trunks of the old oak trees. She felt watched. The hair on her arms stood on end. Something was following her. Not at a distance, not far away, but close enough that she could feel its presence without seeing it. Sarah's pace quickened. She tried to tell herself it was her imagination, that she had stayed up too long working on her project. The benches were empty, the swings swaying gently in the wind, though no one had touched them. She passed the small pond in the center of the park. The water reflected the moon, and for a moment she thought she saw a figure standing behind a tree, tall, thin, impossibly still. She blinked, and it was gone. She stopped and leaned against a lamppost, trying to calm her shaking hands. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A message. She pulled it out, and her stomach dropped. It wasn't from anyone she knew, just a single line. "Don't leave the path." Her pulse spiked. She looked around. The park seemed darker than before, the shadows thicker, almost crawling along the ground toward her. She started walking faster, her footsteps crunching on the gravel, but the sound behind her wasn't matching her steps. Something was moving, something slow, deliberate, echoing softly. Sarah reached the far end of the park near the old playground. The swings now moved violently, as if pushed by an invisible hand. Her breath caught, and she turned to run toward the park exit, but the path she had been following was gone. The gravel now curved in a way she didn't recognize, the familiar trees replaced by strange, twisted shapes. Panic surged through her. She was trapped.
A whisper floated through the air. "Sarah!" She spun around, but no one was there. The voice came again, closer this time, breathy and cold. "Sarah, don't run!" Her legs moved on their own, stumbling down a path that didn't seem real. The lampposts flickered, and in their brief light she saw them, figures emerging from the shadows, not fully human, not fully nothing. Their faces were hidden, but their presence pressed down on her like a physical weight. They moved without sound, gliding, circling her. Her phone buzzed again, another message. "You shouldn't have come alone." The figures were closer now, their shapes stretching and twisting with each step. One reached out, a hand thin and pale, fingers like branches. She screamed, but her voice seemed swallowed by the night. She ran blindly, crashing into a tree, her backpack slipping off her shoulder. A sudden clearing appeared, a small gazebo in the center, moonlight bathing it in silver. She ran toward it, hoping for safety, but as she reached it, the figures surrounded her, circling, their whispers filling her mind. "We've been waiting, we've been watching, we've been patient." One figure stepped forward, closer than the rest. Its face was pale, a blank, smooth surface, eyes hollow black voids. It tilted its head. Sarah backed up, feeling her heart slam against her ribs. Her hands scrabbled for anything to defend herself. Her phone vibrated violently. The screen lit up with a video feed. It was her, standing in the gazebo. Behind her, shadows writhed in impossible angles, closing in, faces indistinct, but screaming silently. She spun around. No one, but the whisper was louder now. "Look behind you." She didn't. She couldn't. Her feet refused to move, but the cold was there, pressing against her back, sliding along her spine. The wind carried voices. The playground swings creaked. The water rippled, though no wind touched it. Something moved in the corner of her eye, gone when she looked directly. A figure emerged from the shadows, a child this time, or something pretending to be a child. Its face was pale, smile stretched impossibly wide, eyes hollow. It pointed at her. Her scream froze. She tried to run, but her legs sank into the ground, the gravel swallowing her, pulling her toward the figures. The figures whispered all at once, "Stay forever." Her phone fell. She crawled, desperate, desperate, desperate. The ground beneath her shifted, the trees bending toward her, shadows reaching, grasping. The gazebo spun, the moonlight twisted, and she felt herself falling into darkness. A single cold hand gripped her shoulder. She spun. Nothing. The world snapped back. She was at the park exit. The city lights glowed in the distance, warm, safe. She ran, didn't stop until she reached her apartment, slamming the door, locking it, breathing like she might never again. Her phone buzzed one last time, a message from an unknown number. "Next time, don't come alone." She dropped it, staring at the dark window. Outside, the park looked normal, calm, empty, but Sarah knew the shadows were still there, waiting, patient, hungry for the next night, the next soul to wander alone.
Midnight Hollow. Subscribe for more horror stories. Watch and press the bell icon.